Remember when Trump said this?
We're actually going to Fort Knox because I want to see, do we have the gold? Do we still have whatever it is, tons of gold? I hope we do. Wouldn't that be disappointing? Fort Knox. You grow up hearing about Fort Knox. You can't get in. You can't even see it. Nobody sees it.
That is one of the last things he said about visiting Fort Knox. So, whatever happened with that? Well, we're going to answer that question and more as we explore. That's right. It was all the rage, big news. When Elon Musk and Donald Trump actually got along, well, there was talk. And actually, this came from Elon Musk first, and as part of the Doge effort, to take a look at Fort Knox to see if the gold is there. Many people were confusing that with an audit, but it was nothing could be further from the truth. The actual last audit that has occurred, I believe, of Fort Knox gold holdings, I think occurred around 1953, if I'm not mistaken. So what's going on here? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit more in a moment, but first, I want to remind you of channel sponsor summitmetals.com. They have gold, and you can assess it and audit it for yourself by buying some from Summit Metals. Yes, indeed, they've got some competitive prices, but more importantly, they got great service, and their shipping has improved as well. Fast shipping, so check out Summit Metals next time your budget allows. So, what is going on here with this announcement? Of course, since the relationship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump has soured, well, there's not been much talk of visiting Fort Knox. In fact, even before the relationship soured, there has not been much talk about it. Well, I believe there's two reasons why we're not seeing a visit to Fort Knox, and there's a big reason why there's not an audit of Fort Knox. Well, there is supposedly every year a review of the holdings of gold, a quasi-audit, and that is a report that's put out by the Treasury Department every year. And basically, and I've seen those reports, there's not much to it. It just says that there's this much gold in the vaults. Nothing changes. There's no seals that are broken in order to actually look and check the bars and assay them. Enough time has gone by that it is long overdue. Several members of Congress have proposed legislation to do an actual legitimate audit because there's not been one done, like I said, since the 50s. But what we're talking about here is something different. It is something that has not been done publicly since 1973, I believe, or 74, and that's when the former U.S. Mint director, I think, Miss Brooks, took the media and Congress folks and other dignitaries on a tour of the Fort Knox, one of the vaults, and they opened it up and people could look and inspect the bars and weigh them and the like. And that is akin to exactly what is being proposed by Elon Musk. He says, let's live stream it, and I think that would be great. Now, obviously, going through the security protocols and making sure you're not revealing too much there. Obviously, we want to keep the gold safe, but nonetheless, there's ways that this could be done, and it could be live streamed to at least give some semblance of confidence that there's some gold there. Now, for me, I believe the gold is there. You may remember this channel had reported on this back in 2017 when former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin visited the vault, and they provided some grainy copies of photos that were submitted there, and I can't remember the reason why they did that. I guess some sort of security reasons, but that raised a whole lot of questions. It was a visit by I think the governor of Kentucky at the time and the Senate Majority Leader McConnell as well. And so that is the last we know of officials have visited the gold vaults. That was a public news event, and it was in concert with if I'm not mistaken, it was in concert with one of the eclipses that had occurred at the time. And he was traveling through and made his way there. But nonetheless, the U.S. Mint directors have visited the vault. And we know that former U.S. Mint Director Edmund C. Moy had visited the vault and said that there is gold there. He's seen it. And I believe that is the case. I believe the gold is there. and more than likely it's all there. Has it been rehypothecated? I kind of doubt it. I think it's in its original form, mainly due to people selling gold in the form of these gold coins, pre-33 gold coins, that were sold back to the United States government at $20.67 an ounce under Executive Order 6102. And a lot of these were melted down into gold bars of the same or a little bit higher purity than the 90% gold that you see here. And so that is likely kind of what's there. Some of these bars would probably not meet LBMA standards. Others may. I'm not sure. In fact, there may even be some of the gold there in coin form, such as the old pre-33 gold. And we know there are 12 Sacagawea gold dollars, 90% gold half-ounce coins there as well from the space shuttle trip, and I've talked about that in a prior video as well. So it's very fascinating to know that what the gold is there, or to be curious about it. It is secret, as Trump alluded to in his statement. It is secret, but what's going on? So the one of the big reasons that it's not being audited right, or not being visited now, is because Trump is just busy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that he's got to get done while he has a majority in Congress, and before campaigning starts, and he's going to be in campaign mode next year in 2026. Heavily likely he's going to be campaigning for Senate seats and for House seats in order to try to maintain the majority. So he's got a lot to get done, and his big thing is that big, beautiful bill that was passed. And say what you want about the bill, there was a lot of work involved in that to get that passed. And this video is not a debate about that bill. There's a lot I don't like about it either. And there may be some good things in it too, but nonetheless, this is something that has taken up a lot of time, and likely that was underway before the big mix-up between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So there's that. The other factor that I think is playing a role in this is there's not a mint director. We don't have a mint director. Donald Trump has. From what I understand, is he had suggested that Ventress Gibson step down so that he can appoint a new mint director, and she agreed to do so. There's an acting mint director who is a deputy mint director, but there is now a mint director who has been nominated, and there's got to be confirmation hearings to get him confirmed. Once he's confirmed, I think likely Trump wants somebody in place that's going to be on his team and that will manage this and set everything up and make it happen. And right now, since it's the acting director who is under the former director under a previous administration, it's going to be much easier to work somebody who is on the same team, so to speak. And so likely that is probably what is going to be happening there, is to get somebody in place to set it all up. And Hollis is the guy, Paul Hollis. I've also done a video about his nomination, and I don't know when those Senate hearings are going to be happening, but likely that is why we're not seeing a visit or any more talk of a visit of Fort Knox. And if it does happen, I kind of doubt that Elon Musk will be involved at this point, considering the relationship has soured between the president and he. And so, therefore, likely it will be some governors, some Congress people, and the public will be on a tour, maybe much like what we saw in 1974. I could see it being very similar. Of course, that does not constitute an audit. It does not mean that everybody will be satisfied that the gold is there, but it's going to be a very good thing, because we want to be able to see the gold, and we want it to be headline news. We want people to know what gold is about. If you see this make the news and you see the president touring Fort Knox, well, I think that might be the second time in history that's happened. I think the last time was, I believe, in 1937, if I'm not mistaken, with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I have no notes here. I'm just speaking off memory. And I believe that was the last time. And, of course, the facility was built under the Roosevelt administration. So there is that, and it's specifically put in near the center of the country for logistical reasons and for security reasons. There's a big buffer. And this is one of the reasons why we had over 21,000 tons of gold there and in other places in the United States, precisely because of its location, away from the prying hands of the Third Reich. And so that's exactly why a lot of the gold was moved there, and people stored their gold there for other reasons, for geopolitical reasons. So fascinating indeed. But there it is, and I think those two reasons. Trump's busy with legislation and trying to end wars, and also the fact that we don't have an actual official confirmed U.S. Mint director right now. And I think that would need to be in place because logistics is going to be a huge deal, not only for Secret Service, but U.S. Mint police and other logistics that need to be taken care of to make this thing work, because it's going to be quite an event. And, there's a bonus. There's a bonus reason why I think maybe we don't want to. He's waiting on this. He's talking about that this is the golden age of America. Well, what better time to do it than maybe 2026, when you're celebrating the nation's 250th anniversary, the semi-sesquicentennial. And as part of that, to look at the wealth of the nation, the gold there. And maybe Trump very well could use the bully pulpit at the time when he's visiting Fort Knox to say, I want a bill to audit the gold reserves and the Federal Reserve on my desk by July 4th of 2026. It would be a great opportunity to be able to do both, to use the bully pulpit and the media to say, hey, we've seen the gold here, but it really needs to be audited. And while we're at it, we should audit the Federal Reserve as well. So there could be some strategy involved in this. That's what I think is why it's not happening now and why we've not seen it yet. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.